Good afternoon. This is Juan Catamayo live from JCT4Education for you. And today we have a special guest. He is coming from the city of Washington, D.C. Hola, Maria Cristina. You just joined. Thank you for watching us and waiting for our guest to show up. For the students that we have here, hola, Natalia. Good to see you here. We're waiting for our guest to connect live from JCT4Education headquarters, my house right now, and hope everybody's doing well. Hola, Natalia. So good to see you. Mucho gusto. And we have Maya. We're gonna invite right now our guest. It'll take probably 20 to 30 seconds. Vesna. Hola. Hi, Camila. Slavko.
Hello, Juan. How are you?
Good. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
How are you? How's the family?
Thank you very much for asking. Everyone is, thank God, I mean, everyone is healthy and safe. We're all doing well. I hope you and your team and your communities are doing well and staying safe and healthy during this time of unprecedented concern, global concern.
I know. Well, thank you so much. I know this is busy time for every admission officer, for everyone in the country and around the world. So I know this is prime time for you. Probably you should be talking to a student right now. So on behalf of parents, students, counseling community, everyone, thank you so much for agreeing to being on this conversation.
No, thank you so much for having me. This is important. And thank you for the work that you and your team are doing.
Right here we have Jorge from Brandeis. Say Slavko. I see your niece Anya. She just joined. I mean, we're gonna have the whole Bradic family here, so everyone is welcome. Remember, you see that little plane? Not just Slavko. The ones that are watching that little iconic plane, just tell friends at George Washington University. Slavko, can you hear me well?
Yeah. It was for the moment it was buffering, but right now, yeah.
Okay, Slavko. So you're from the beautiful country of Serbia, from Belgrade. How is your mom doing and your family?
Good. Thank you so much for asking. Yes, as we are all going through these very challenging times, I keep very close communication with my mom, my sister, my brother-in-law back home in Serbia. Thankfully, they're all doing well. They are on a lockdown. They have restricted movement, only grocery shopping and things like that. For the most part, they are staying at home. So thankfully, all of them are safe and healthy at this time. Thank you.
Is the country measures in Serbia right now more strict than the United States? Colombia is super strict right now.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I mean, they have very restricted movement. My mom can leave for an hour daily, like in a period of 4 o'clock in the morning through 7 o'clock in the morning and things like that. So my sister and my brother-in-law, they have a little bit more freedom, but in the same time, yes, it's very, very strict. Definitely much more stricter than in the US.
You send my regards when you talk to them, okay?
Thank you very much.
I know this is updates from Washington, D.C., from the George Washington University, but we're really interested about your background. We have students that actually are athletes. I trust you were a basketball player, and you went to school on a scholarship, athletic scholarship basketball in Wisconsin. Tell us, how did you move from Serbia, Belgrade, to Wisconsin?
Yeah, first of all, I was gonna address your invitation. Updates from Washington D.C. sounds very official, so I wanna back out a little bit to say
you look
this
very
is just
presidential, man. So
this is just from my personal humble opinion. You know, this is not from Washington D.C. You know, updates. But yeah, I was born and raised in Belgrade, Serbia. I was back in the days. This is a long time ago. I think that the coaches were doing what we are doing nowadays. You know, they were traveling the world. They were attending different games, tournaments, and they are recruiting players. So I was recruited by a very small school in the middle of Wisconsin. offered the basketball scholarship. At the time, that was my ticket for higher education in the U.S. At the time when my country was going through a very difficult time, everyone was looking for a ticket out, and that was my ticket. And I was fortunate enough to get there. It was a stepping stone. I did 4 years in Wisconsin, and opened a door for a future. Came to George Washington University for my master's degree, and I fall in love with the city, fall in love with the community here, and I've been here ever since. This is where I started my family. This is where I'm raising my family, and
so it's okay. What's the name of your alma mater in Wisconsin?
It's a Montenario College.
Montenario College.
You won't be even to find the place on a map, you know. And I think that the important message is here. It's you know, it doesn't really matter the level that you're playing. You know, you have to have a vision. You have to have a goal. My goal was to look for a better opportunity, better future, because at the time, you know, it was a lot of uncertainties back home. So
how many Serbians on your team in Montenario?
So when I graduated, there was 6 players from Serbia in the team, and then a few more on a soccer team, because that year they started a soccer programs, a men's and women's soccer program. So
I understand you guys won the national championship. Am I correct?
Yeah, a couple times. Yes, my freshman and my junior year. Yes, we did.
So listen to that one. You guys put the school on the map. You guys made it to the Hall of Fame, and I'm so proud of you. What year did you move to Washington, D.C.?
I came to D.C. in December of '98. Okay. Started my master's program in '99, graduated from 2001, and joined the admissions office here.
So you have a master's in information system technology?
In information systems, yes. This is how the life plays game with all of us sometimes. You know, when I came to GW, the options and what the offer was either higher education or information systems. At the time, I'm talking to my wife, and we were talking like, wait a minute, higher education. You know, you guys have to understand, coming from a different background, where back home, you know, there's not much you can do in a higher education. That the profession that you and me are doing, that doesn't exist. You know, so we were thinking in a higher education, and this is a '99, so the computer industry is very hot, you know, and I'm thinking, let me go for information systems, you know, and, you know, here I am 20 years later, I'm in a higher education, stumble upon this profession, fall in love, and still continue to do it. So, you never know.
So I assume you're super computer savvy. You have a master's in information system, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so how many times have you done a live on Instagram?
This is my first time on Instagram. I don't have an Instagram. I don't have any social media platforms. I don't live in a virtual world. I still firmly believe in a handshake and a hug rather than meeting you guys. Unfortunately, this time, you know, yeah, meeting you virtually. But yeah, I don't live in a virtual.
No,
world.
I'm just joking. I know a lot of folks are not on social media, and actually you're doing well. That's the way for me to connect with students. We have students watching right now. We have families. We have parents. So it's been an amazing tool right now during social distancing. Slavko, so now you made it to the Office of Admissions at GW, and you have gone all the way up to the top ranks. You have managed admission councils right now that they are in different universities. It looks like if you want to be one of the top recruiters in the United States, they go through a Slavko trainee program at GW. Slavko, what's your take on the situation? What's new? What's going to happen with higher ed right now? What's the message? Because you're having live conversation with the students and families, whether you use Zoom or Skype or so forth. What's your take? What's your reflection right now?
Yeah, no, thank you for your kind words. I don't, you know, see that everyone that, you know, succeeds in a higher education. And you mentioned Jorge, wonderful friend of mine. It's not because they work very closely with me, but because I was fortunate to work with such incredible individuals like Jorge and others in profession. And I think that's why I fall in love with this profession. That's why I'm still doing what I'm doing nowadays. what is going to happen? It's hard to say. You know, I think that definitely it will change. That will definitely will have an impact on a higher education. I think in my humble opinion, I think students are the most affected group during this pandemic. You know, especially perhaps students in high schools. You know, because they yes, and I'm seeing through my daughters. You know, they adapted well to this new norm. However, it's very challenging time for them. You know, this is the years where they should continue to grow, develop, and excel and get to the next level. However, it feels that they've been suppressed, you know, from educational perspective, even though teachers and professors are trying very hard to deliver the education and message through online. But also when you think about it on a social and cultural perspective. So I think that that's the population that been most affected by this pandemic. And I really hope that this is over soon and they are able to go back to their normal lives. You know, I think you'll see, again, in my humble opinion, I think you'll see more and more classes online in the future. I think a lot of universities started doing that already, even before this happened. But yeah, I think that the message right now is for everyone to be healthy and safe, you know, and really to work together, because I think it's also important that we are there for each other. And I think that the work that you do, it's incredible, and I think it helps all of us in higher education industry to move forward, to continue to do what we are passionate about, and to support students and families in these very difficult times. Yes. There are so many questions and unfortunately not enough answers at this point. But we are here to listen, to understand, to be there for students and families, and to reassure them that we'll work very closely with them to make sure that they can continue their education and their experience at different universities.
Kevin Hosler just joined. Shadi, hello everyone. We're here with Slavko Bradic from the George Washington University, and we're talking updates from DC, updates from the George Washington University, and updates from the Bradic family. So Slavko, you're going through what most families are going through in the United States and around the world. You are the perfect example. Your wife works for the World Bank. She's working from home. You're working from home. We just talked before we started the live. You're working from 8 o'clock in the morning, 6, 7, 8. You told me, Juanca, I'm working 24/7. But then you also have two daughters. One is a sophomore at GW, and the other one, a senior, will be a senior. And so how is the dynamics at home? How do you guys operate at home? How is your Wi-Fi system? The four of you are probably equally connected to your jobs, to the schools, homework. How are you guys handling their own stress and fatigue of being home 24/7?
Yeah, I don't know if we are handling that well, but everyone has their own corner in the house, within the house, and as me and Vesna are working, girls are studying online and trying to adapt to this new norm. Thankfully, we live in a house. Behind the house, there's a bike path, so me and Vesna will get on during the lunchtime. We'll get on the bikes, you know, during the nice day and ride a little bit. Girls try to follow some exercises online through a Nike training app. You know, I think it's very useful for them. So we're all adapting. For the most part, there's a good family dynamic. Obviously, you know, being stuck in the same place, you know, sometimes that's not necessarily the truth. So it's challenging. It's a very challenging time. And I said, you know, what I said earlier, I think especially for the girls, you know, I think for me and Vesna, it's a little bit easier. I think the first week working from home was a little bit hectic. And I don't want to say working from home, because when you think about, you know, we are not working from home. We are at home during the pandemic trying to adapt to a new norm and trying to work. So it's different when you work from home and you have the office and the base is there, and wherever you are, either you're working from home, you're, as we international travelers, we travel the world, you know, and no matter where you are, you can connect but this is completely different, you know, and I think, you know, for me and Vesna, we are handling a little bit better. You know, I think for girls, especially challenging the social distancing, you know, where they need to be with their friends, you know, when they need to feel that emotion and continue to grow on, especially in that social emotional level, you know, they are home with their parents, you know, where they have to play by house rules, you know, and things like that. And it's hard for them, you know, it's really hard for them. And I see that challenge. And that's why I'm saying I really hope this goes back to normal pretty soon.
Okay, Slavko, now getting deeper into your institution, your second alma mater right now. So I know it's really hard to predict, but what are the talks? Where can students and parents and counselors find more information about fall enrollment, fall classes, housing, updates? Can you give us any updates what your administration is working on?
Yeah, so I have to say, and I think this is not just for GW, but I think this is true for most of the higher education institutions out there. I think all of us, we adapted pretty well, you know, in a short period of time, to the technology platforms where we can connect with students and families and work very closely with them, reassure them that um, there are things that we are thinking, we are planning, there are contingency plans that different scenarios that are part of the discussion of the university leadership, but also experts in the medical field. So I think we adapted pretty well, and I would say the questions about admissions and next steps, I think the students and families will be best reaching out to us. You know, I have 8 to 10 Zoom calls throughout the day with students and families, just talking, listening, and learning also on what type of challenges and experiences, questions they might have around the world.
Okay.
In terms of the university, there is a website that was designed specifically to this pandemic situation. If you just Google COVID-19 GW, there's a website that, you know, it's regularly updated with resources, news, information about the next steps and what's happening at the university. I think the main question from students and families is what fall might look like for us. And unfortunately, I don't think there's a good answer, not just from GW, but from any other college university out there at this point. I think we are all waiting to see how this is going to progress and develop, and then to make decision what's in the best interest of the students. You know,
Yes.
at this point, GW is planning to welcome our students, incoming freshman class, but also returning students back on campus at the end of August to start the semester. However, with full understanding that this might not be the case, and that this might not be a situation, and so that therefore there are contingency plans and backup plans to, you know, address that situation. So
Yeah, you and I were international students back in the day. I graduated in 1995. Uh, I wasn't a basketball player. For those of you who are watching, I'm 6 feet, so that means 183. Slavko, how tall are you?
2 meters exactly for international population here in the States, 6'7".
So 6'7", 2 meters. So this guy, and there is a question later on here, but you and I, we were F1 students. So right now, you know that all embassies, U.S. embassies around the world are closed. And we don't know when they're going to reopen, and we don't know how the visa situation is going to take place for the students that you guys are issuing I-20 so they can come to the United States, and all of our colleagues. So I'm very concerned about them returning to the United States. And we will have somebody from Education USA, Maria Mercedes Salomon, will be here, and she probably will be asking this question. She has more information from the State Department. I'm worried about that population. So are you guys talking about like a hybrid program where you do 50% in the fall, 50% when they get their visas and they get to GW? What have you heard overall?
Yeah, so I really hope, I'm not at the table, part of the discussions, but, that we have discussions within office, with our undergraduate admissions office. And I believe, that information is also sent, to the leadership, that we are highly concerned about the international students, and are they going to be able to get their visas and get here in time? So I
What
really hope that, go ahead, please.
what percentage of your population is international, both undergraduate and graduate?
So 14% of the undergraduate population is international. So pretty decent percent of international students. And like I said, when you think about the challenges for the fall, each country might have different restrictions.
Yes.
And then coming to the US might have different restrictions
Yeah.
by the country itself, for
Yes.
how many days you have to be quarantined if you're coming from one country versus another, and things like that. So it's very, very complex time for universities, colleges, universities in the US. And I really hope that the leadership, not just of George Washington University, but when you think about, the overall number of international students that are coming to the US for higher education, I really hope that universities are taking into account all these complexities.
We're having
The
some.
questions from all of these students.
Oh, okay. There is a question here, and it's coming from La period SZLO 460. Question: what positive changes can you attribute to COVID-19, if any?
Yeah, I think the technology is here to stay. I think as I mentioned, we adapted pretty well to the new norm. I think there are things that we are learning right now. I think the things that we are doing right now are here to stay. Let me give you an example. As I mentioned, every day 8 to 10 Zoom calls with students and international families. When I travel and I visit the country, I might visit one or two cities, and I might visit 8 to 10 schools. However, the technology nowadays allow me to have much wider reach.
Yes.
To the cities that perhaps we won't be traveling, the schools, students that don't necessarily have good guidance, or don't have guidance at all. Coming from back home, students in high schools don't have a college counselor, offices. So I think the technology will put us out there to provide and cater to students' needs and families. Also, meeting with families online has been, I think, a very, very positive experience for me. I really, really enjoy it. I think I can. I love my job, but I think I really enjoy what I've been doing last 3-4 weeks. Connecting with students, particularly with parents, online. So I think having that wider reach to students and families from around the world. We are starting to doing virtual information sessions, again, so students not necessarily being on campus, or us not being necessarily in their high schools or cities. We can provide information not just about George Washington University, but I'm pretty sure all my colleagues are doing the same. I think that
Absolutely.
Jorge's also living in Zoom on a daily basis.
Yes.
So
Any conversations about tuition if the hybrid mode comes in? Have you guys spoke about it yet or not?
yeah, I think that's besides the question what is going to happen in fall. I think that's the second most common and most popular question nowadays, and I don't really have a good answer to that. And there are valid points why perhaps it should be reduced. Because it's taking away from that college experience. Another very common question nowadays is about deferral.
Yes.
Deferring the student enrollment for a semester, or perhaps for a year. I have families from around the world when they are saying, "I'm sending my son or daughter to the U.S. as flexible. NCAA just for this cycle, said that the SATs or ACTs are not required documents for the NCAA clearinghouse. So that's one change. They obviously suspended all in-person recruitment at this time. But I think what's going to happen with the sport at the university, I think the athletics will follow the general university guidance. I think whatever the university decides to do to open the door and open the campuses in the fall, I think that's athletics will follow.
Yes.
So.
And for the student, he's concerned about scholarship, and usually scholarships they carry over. So as long as he's in compliance or she's in compliance, the scholarship will move over. Now, right now, there is another population that is moving around. Families' priority are shifting. Schools, it's a lot. It's called the transfer population. I just noticed that a lot of schools are extending the deadlines for transfer admissions to June 1st. Is that the case for you guys, or what is your deadline, or it passed?
Yeah, we extended our transfer deadline. We work with our students. We work with the challenges that they are experiencing because, for most of them, colleges and universities as well, high school might issue documents, through online systems. However, some are completely closed and they are not in a position to issue their either college report or transcripts, to us. So we work with, I would say, with every student individually to make sure that we hear and we cater to their needs, whatever the challenges that might be experiencing. So very, very sensitive to what students and families are going through this unprecedented times,
Okay. Slavko, a lot of students are having problems with high school transcripts in terms of for the transfer population. They cannot get a hold of their teachers. I mean, we're living unprecedented times. Do they reach out to you guys to waive some of the requirements, or they still need to comply?
Yeah, no, absolutely. They reach out to us. We always ask, that they at least try, to get official documents from their schools or colleges, but then, we are there to really work with them. And we did waive a lot of requests this year for our transfer population. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. High school counselors, I just saw one question yesterday on International ACAC. What's the best way to communicate with you, to contact you? With you?
With me? Personally, or with
it's a GW question. So I believe you might be the international counselor. So she asked.
Yeah. So there are a few different ways. Definitely via email, phones. We are on Jabber and other platforms. Also on websites they can find our calendar links. Where they can schedule appointment with us. For 20-30 minutes. Through live chats. So I think nowadays, it's much wider reach, and they have much more opportunities to connect with us than perhaps when we are in office or traveling around the world.
Okay. I promise our audience to keep it short. We've been live now for 30 minutes, so I'm going to wrap this up. But Slavko, can you hear me well? I have one more question.
Yes.
So what's your take from this learning experience? You and I, we never lived this experience from Colombia. We lived the horrible 80s and 90s. You lived the war, and that was bad. But we're living something that is really quiet. We're at home. What are your learnings from this unprecedented experience?
And before I answer that, I just want to say, Juan, I really believe what the work that you are doing and the work that college counselors are doing around the world, I think it's essential. I think that nowadays it's more than important than ever before. Because when you think about you mentioned high school transcripts. Now students, there are questions about pass and fail classes, credits for their IBs. Are they getting? Are they not getting? What's going to happen to their internships over the summer, or educational experiences, or extracurricular activities? What the students show on their application a year from now. you know, how's this going to affect their admission and things like that. So there's so many, and we at the universities are thinking, making even more complex for them, because we are not unified in our message. You know, some universities are test optional, some universities are test optional, I mean flexible. Some of the universities are going to that only for this cycle and then coming back to have that as a part of their requirements. So I think the work and your guidance and guidance of college counselors around the world, I think nowadays it's more important than ever before, because, you know, reading through our websites and connecting with us, it's not necessarily clear to student and family how they can put their best foot forward, you know, and how they can apply to college, university, and be very competitive in that application processing at the selective universities. And then what we learn from this, I think, you know, to me, it's, you know, to be humble, to understand how little you need, you know, to be happy, you know, to surround yourself with friends and family, and you to think about how you can help and how you can contribute to people in need, you know. I think that's the message, I believe.
Yeah, and yesterday we had a friend of ours, and his message was, call the elderly population. Just a smile, just get on the phone with your family, help us, all of us, moving through this situation. So, as you say, we are huggers, we love people, and the passion is what we need to have, and compassion here. So, Slavko, I know that we have to go, but I just want to say from the bottom of our heart, thank you on behalf of the students, the parents, colleagues, all the families that are watching you. This video will be housed for you on YouTube, JCT4Education channel. But man, stay safe. Hello to your family. Love you all, and thank you. Come back soon.
Thank you so much, and thank you to all of students and families that joined us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. And now get back to work, right?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.